Welcome to the History and Heritage podcast with me, Liam Blake. Join me as we uncover hidden stories and insights that shaped our world. From mysteries to legacies, join us on this journey through time. Obviously enough, the History and Heritage podcast is about history and heritage. But what if I combine history with a very modern twist? That twist is AI. So what I did was, some of you, especially if you have Spotify, may have seen NotebookAI come up, or NotebookLM is the proper name. It's launched by Google, and what you do is you put in your sources and it can create for you a podcast episode. So I had always thought of doing a podcast episode on years ending in 24 as kind of a look back at this year, but actually looking back at previous years. So I put that prompt into NotebookLM, give it a few different sources, which I can share with you if you want. And this, anyway, is what it came back with.
Welcome back, everyone. As we wrap up 2024, we're taking a slightly different approach for this deep dive.
Different how?
Well, we're kind of time traveling. To be more specific, we're diving into three very specific years, all ending in 24. 1324, 1724, and 1924.
That does sound different. I like it.
I thought you might. It'll be fun to uncover some lesser-known events from each of these years. Plus, I think it's a fitting way to pay tribute to this year, 2024, as it comes to an end.
I'm on board.
You never know where these hidden gems of history might be hiding.
Right. Okay, so 1324, 1724, and 1924. Three seemingly random years linked by those final two digits. Where shall we begin?
Let's crank up the time machine and set our coordinates for 1324. Any initial thoughts on this one?
1324. Stepping into a world of knights and castles where empires rose and fell, well, sometimes pretty dramatically, the Middle Ages in all its glory.
Full of intrigue and adventure. And speaking of adventure, the year starts with the death of a legend, Marco Polo.
Marco Polo. His stories of the Orient had captivated Europe. Think about it. His death in January of 1324, in a way, it's like the closing of a chapter, an era of exploration coming to an end. At least symbolically, of course.
Symbolically, yes. Though, thinking about all the things that happened this year, it feels more like history was hitting the refresh button, wouldn't you say?
I like that, a refresh. And if that's the case, then one of the biggest files that got reloaded in 1324 has to be the power struggle between King Ludwig IV of Bavaria and Pope John the 22nd. Now that's a story for the ages.
Oh yeah, Ludwig versus the Pope. Talk about a clash of titans.
Right. Ludwig, already crowned Holy Roman Emperor by his supporters, flat out refused to acknowledge the Pope's authority. You know, he even went so far as to declare the Pope a heretic.
Bold move, considering the times.
It gets better. The Pope excommunicated Ludwig. He was like, you're out and you're deposed. But guess what? Ludwig was like, nope, I'm still in charge. And he just kept on ruling.
He defied the Pope. I guess defying the Pope back then wasn't quite the career ender it might be today.
Well, it was a different world back then. The balance of power between the church and the state was, well, constantly shifting. This wasn't just a personal squabble. It reflected a deeper tension, this struggle for supremacy. And that's something that would continue to shape European politics for centuries to come.
Absolutely. And it's a struggle that still resonates in different ways even today. Though maybe not quite as dramatically as Ludwig versus the Pope.
Right. But while Ludwig was busy battling it out with the Pope, there was another conflict brewing, this one between England and France, the War of Saint-Sardos.
Another chapter in the long and complicated relationship between those two.
You could say that. This one was all about the Duchy of Aquitaine. It was a region in southwest France controlled by the English.
I see. And this is where King Edward II comes in.
Exactly. He was supposed to pay homage to the French king for this territory, but he kind of, skipped that part.
Oh, Edward, what were you thinking? That's kind of like forgetting to RSVP your frenemies' wedding. Not a good look.
Yeah, you could say that. The French king obviously wasn't too happy. He was like, you didn't show up. Fine. Aquitaine is mine now. And then war broke out. It didn't last that long, but it definitely added more fuel to that simmering rivalry between England and France. This was like the prequel to the 100 Years' War, which, fun fact, started just a few years later.
Wow. So we've got power struggles in Europe, kings versus popes, England versus France. It's a lot to take in.
It was a busy year, that's for sure. But while all this is happening in Europe, Let's shift gears and head over to Africa, where something pretty incredible is unfolding.
You're talking about Mansa Musa, right? The emperor of the Mali Empire and his legendary pilgrimage to Mecca.
Mansa Musa. Now that's how you travel in style. Imagine an entourage with tens of thousands of people, soldiers, courtiers, even slaves. But what really turned heads was the amount of gold he brought with him.
I read somewhere that he had so much gold that it actually crashed the Egyptian economy. Is that true, or is that just one of those history myths?
It's true. Mansa Musa just gave away so much gold in Cairo that it caused massive inflation. Like, think years of economic instability kind of inflation.
Wow. Imagine the headlines. Emperor breaks economy with too much bling.
But jokes aside, beyond the economics, Mansa Musa's pilgrimage really changed how the Mali Empire was seen on the world stage, didn't it?
Absolutely. This wasn't just a personal journey. It was a strategic power move, showcasing the Mali Empire's wealth and influence to the entire world. This journey actually helped solidify those trans-Saharan trade routes, bringing wealth and cultural exchange to a whole region.
I've always found that fascinating, how a single event can have such a huge ripple effect across continents and through history.
It's true. And speaking of legacies, 1324 also marks the end of an era in the Middle East. This is the year Osman I, founder of the Ottoman Empire, passes away.
The Ottomans. Their story is one of the most epic rises to power in history. Osman was a brilliant strategist and military leader. He built the foundation for what would become one of the most powerful empires in history. An empire that would eventually control vast swaths of the Mediterranean world for centuries. And when he died, it paved the way for his son, Orhan, to take the reins and continue his father's expansionist policies.
It does make you wonder how things might have played out differently if Osman had lived longer.
Doesn't it? But even in his relatively short reign, Osman I left an undeniable mark. He's up there with figures like Genghis Khan when it comes to empire building.
So we've covered a lot of ground in 1324. Kings and popes, wars, an emperor with an abundance of gold. What stands out to you the most?
For me, it's the sheer variety of events we've seen. We have these major power struggles happening in Europe, and at the same time, you have this incredibly wealthy African emperor making a pilgrimage that ends up impacting economies across the world. I think it goes to show how interconnected the world was, even back in the 14th century.
It's a good reminder that history is more than just dates and names. It's a tapestry of stories, each one adding its own unique color to the grand narrative of humanity.
Well said. So, are you ready to fast forward a few centuries to 1724?
Ready when you are. Buckle up, because who knows what this next 24 year has in store for us. From knights and castles to a world of powdered wigs and refined manners, that's quite a leap.
You got that right. 1724 has a very different vibe. Think more along the lines of artistic brilliance, political intrigue, and the early stirrings of scientific inquiry.
Okay, getting a sense of a more refined era. But where do we even begin? What are some of the standout moments of 1724?
Well, how about we start with a double dose of musical genius? 1724 was a big year for music. It saw the premieres of two absolute masterpieces, both of which would go on to define the Baroque period.
Intrigued. Tell me more.
In London, Handel's opera Julius Caesar in Egidio premiered to much acclaim. And over in Leipzig, Bach's St. John Passion made its debut.
I'm more familiar with Handel. I even had the chance to see a performance of Giulio Caesar a few years back. The music, the staging, everything was just so grand and dramatic. It was an incredible experience.
Handel was the master of spectacle. He knew how to create these epic, emotionally charged experiences for his audience. Giulio Caesar is a perfect example of that. It blends dramatic storytelling with some truly innovative music.
And how does Bach's St. John Passion fit into this musical landscape? It seems like a very different kind of work.
Oh, it is. While Handel was all about operatic drama and spectacle, Bach was delving into the depths of religious expression. The St. John Passion is this incredibly moving piece that uses a combination of choral singing, solo arias, and recitatives to tell the story of Christ's crucifixion.
Two composers, both working at the pinnacle of their careers, creating such contrasting yet equally powerful works in the same year. That's amazing.
Right. It really speaks to the creative energy that was pulsating through Europe during this time. The Baroque period was a time of intense artistic experimentation, and those two pieces you mentioned are prime examples of the innovation that was happening across all art forms, but especially music.
So we've got operatic drama in London, spiritual reflection in Leipzig. What else is going on in the world in 1724? Any major political developments or scandals or anything like that?
Well, over in Rome, there was a change in leadership at the very top. Pope Innocent XIII passed away, and as always, the cardinals gathered to elect a new pope.
You mentioned earlier that the papacy was still a major force in European politics back then, so I'm guessing this wasn't just a religious event. It had wider political implications as well.
Exactly. The Pope wasn't just a spiritual leader, he was a powerful political figure, someone who could influence the balance of power across Europe.
So a papal election was a pretty high-stakes event. I imagine there was a lot of political maneuvering going on behind the scenes.
Oh, absolutely. Lots of whispers, alliances being formed, cardinals vying for influence. It was a political drama in its own right.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall for those kinds of discussions. But while the cardinals were busy electing a new pope, over in Spain, King Philip V decided to shake things up a bit.
Oh, yeah. Philip V, he did something pretty unexpected. He abdicated. He just decided to step down from the throne and hand over the reins to his son, Louis.
Really? Any specific reason why he decided to call it quits? Maybe a midlife crisis?
The official reason was health concerns. But some historians believe that Philip may have grown tired of all the political wrangling. Maybe he just felt burned out and wanted a break from all the responsibility.
I can relate to that. Feeling overwhelmed and just wanting to step back from it all. But of course, in Philip's case, it was his son who had to deal with the fallout.
Yeah, being king wasn't exactly a walk in the park back then. And while Spain was adjusting to this unexpected change in leadership, there were also some political shifts happening in England as well. Several important government positions changed hands, leading to a realignment of alliances and power dynamics within the British court.
So kind of like a political game of musical chairs, with everyone scrambling to secure their position.
Exactly. Lots of jockeying for power and influence. It's always fascinating to see how those dynamics play out, how individual personalities and ambitions can shape the course of history.
It definitely makes you realize that history is driven by people, not just abstract forces. But while Europe was navigating these political twists and turns over in Russia, something truly remarkable was taking shape.
You're thinking about Peter the Great, right?
Yes, Peter the Great. He's one of those larger-than-life figures that you can't help but be fascinated by. This guy was obsessed with modernizing Russia and bringing it up to speed with the rest of Europe.
Absolutely. He saw Russia's potential, and he was determined to make it a major player on the world stage. And in 1724, he took a major step towards achieving that goal.
By doing what?
He founded the Russian Academy of Sciences in St. Petersburg.
Wait, the Russian Academy of Sciences was founded in 1724. That's amazing. I always assumed it happened much later.
It's a testament to Peter's vision. He understood that science and education were key to progress, and he wanted to create this institution that would bring together the brightest minds from across Russia and Europe to conduct cutting-edge research.
And did the Academy live up to his expectations?
It absolutely did. It became a center for groundbreaking research in all sorts of fields, mathematics, astronomy, physics, and it played a vital role in training a new generation of Russian scientists and engineers, those who would go on to shape Russia's future.
It's incredible to think how much happened in 1724. We've got these amazing musical premieres, political intrigue, and the founding of a scientific institution that would change the course of history. It's a year of contrasts, wouldn't you say?
I agree. It's a blend of artistic passion, political maneuvering, and a growing thirst for knowledge. And that's what makes exploring history so rewarding. There's always something new to discover, always another layer to peel back.
And for our listeners, it's a reminder that the past is never truly static. It's this dynamic tapestry of events, ideas, and personalities that continue to resonate with us today.
Well put. So, ready for our final time jump? Shall we head to 1924?
I'm ready. Let's do it. 1924. The Roaring Twenties. I can already hear the jazz music playing. 1924. Jazz, flappers, the Roaring Twenties. But I get the feeling this year is more than just parties and bathtub gin.
It's so much more than that. The world is still reeling from World War I. Plus, there's a sense of, change in the air, like something big is about to happen, but nobody knows what it is yet.
Okay, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
What are some of the key events that we should be paying attention to in 1924?
Well, we can't ignore a certain figure who would soon cast a very dark shadow over the world, Adolf Hitler.
Hitler. In 1924. I know his story, but I always associate him with the 1930s and 40s.
That's understandable. But it's important to remember that even the most notorious figures have their origin stories. And for Hitler, 1924 is a pivotal year. He's a relatively unknown political agitator at this point. Think small-time rabble-rouser with big ambitions. And it's in 1924 that he gets his first taste of real notoriety.
You're talking about the beer hall push, right?
Exactly. It was this incredibly clumsy attempt to seize power in Bavaria, a real beer-fueled fiasco, to be honest.
So not exactly a well-thought-out plan.
Not even close. Hitler and his followers, fired up with nationalist rhetoric and, well, probably a bit too much beer, stormed into a Munich beer hall hoping to spark a wider uprising. But the whole thing was poorly organized and quickly fell apart. It ended in a chaotic confrontation with police, more like a bar brawl than a coup d'etat.
I can see why it didn't make it into too many history textbooks as a model for successful revolutions. But I guess even failures can have consequences, especially when someone like Hitler is involved.
That's exactly the point. This failed putsch actually turned out to be a key turning point in Hitler's rise to power. He was arrested and put on trial, which gave him a platform to spout his nationalist propaganda and gain a wider audience. He played the martyr, you see, the patriotic hero fighting against a corrupt system.
And during his brief stint in prison, he wrote Mein Kampf.
Yes, Mein Kampf. That's when he really laid out his twisted ideology, a blueprint for the horrors that would follow. It's a sobering thought, isn't it? How a seemingly insignificant event like a failed beer hall putsch can have such devastating consequences. It reminds us that history can be shaped by chance encounters, by missteps and miscalculations.
And it underscores the importance of paying attention to those seemingly minor events, to understanding the context in which they occur and the potential they hold to shape the course of events.
Couldn't agree more. Now, while Hitler was busy writing his manifesto in a prison cell over in Britain, a very different political story was unfolding. 1924 saw the formation of the first Labour government, a major turning point in British history.
The Labour Party. They were the voice of the working class, right? The party that championed the rights of ordinary people.
Absolutely. They represented a real break from the traditional power structures in Britain. The Labour Party had its roots in the trade union movement and advocated for social reforms that would benefit the working class. Things like expanded health care, better working conditions, access to education.
So a real shift towards social justice and equality.
Precisely. The Labour Party's rise to power reflected a growing sense that the old order, with its rigid class divisions, just wasn't working anymore. People were demanding change, a more equitable society.
A familiar theme throughout history, wouldn't you say? The push and pull between those who benefit from the status quo and those who are striving for a more just and equitable world.
You said it. And these tensions between progress and resistance played out in many different ways in 1924. For example, while the Labour Party was making strides towards social justice in Britain, across the Atlantic, the United States was grappling with a very different set of challenges.
You're talking about the Immigration Act of 1924, right?
Exactly. The Roaring Twenties in America might have been all about jazz and flapper dresses on the surface, but underneath all that glitz and glamour, there was a lot of anxiety brewing.
It was a time of rapid social and economic change. And that always brings uncertainty, doesn't it?
You hit the nail on the head. And for many Americans, this uncertainty manifested itself as fear of the other, especially immigrants. They were seen as a threat to traditional values and a drain on resources. And this fear, fueled by prejudice and economic anxieties, led to the passage of the Immigration Act of 1924.
And that act was, well, to put it bluntly, pretty discriminatory. It imposed strict quotas that drastically limited immigration from certain countries, particularly those in Southern and Eastern Europe and Asia.
It was. And it's a stark reminder that even in times of apparent progress, there are always forces pushing back, seeking to preserve the old order and exclude those who are perceived as different or threatening.
Sadly, it's a story that continues to resonate today. The debates we're having about immigration, national identity, and belonging, they all echo the anxieties and divisions that were so prevalent in 1924.
Absolutely. And these tensions between progress and backlash weren't just playing out on the political stage. 1924 also witnessed some truly groundbreaking technological advancements.
You're talking about the first successful around-the-world flight, right?
Yep. It's 1924. 4 U.S. Army Air Service biplanes set off from Seattle on this incredible journey, circling the globe in 175 days.
That must have been an incredible feat of daring and endurance. I can only imagine what it was like for those pilots, pushing the boundaries of what was possible, seeing the world from a completely new perspective.
It captured the imagination of the entire world. It was a symbol of human ingenuity, a testament to the power of technology to shrink the globe and connect people across vast distances.
And it was just one of many technological leaps forward in 1924. Let's not forget about the first diesel-electric locomotive.
Oh, yeah. Number 1, it was called. This sleek, powerful locomotive hit the rails in New York City that year. And it wasn't just a cool new train, it was a symbol of progress, of a future powered by innovation. It offered a cleaner, more efficient alternative to the old, smoky steam engines.
It's like the world was suddenly accelerating, both literally and figuratively.
And that pace of change would only continue to increase throughout the 20th century, shaping the world we live in today. But 1924 wasn't just about technological marvels. It was also a year of significant loss, particularly in the political realm.
You're talking about the death of Vladimir Lenin, the leader of the Soviet Union.
Exactly. Lenin's death in January of 1925 was a major turning point in history. It left a huge power vacuum in the Soviet Union, and it triggered a power struggle among his potential successors. And as we know, it was Joseph Stalin who would ultimately emerge victorious from that struggle, leading the Soviet Union down a dark and brutal path.
It's like 1924 is this hinge point, a year where the old order is collapsing and a new, uncertain future is beginning to take shape. There's so much happening, so much in flux, that it's almost impossible to grasp the full significance of it all at the time.
And that's what makes exploring history so fascinating, isn't it? We get to look back with the benefit of hindsight to see how those seemingly disparate events, those moments of triumph and tragedy, all fit together to shape the course of human events.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this deep dive into 3 fascinating years, ending in 24, I'm struck by how much these years, separated by centuries, have in common. We see patterns repeating themselves, echoes of the past reverberating through the present.
You're absolutely right. It's a reminder that history isn't just a collection of dry facts and dates. It's a living, breathing story that continues to unfold around us. And by understanding the past, we gain a deeper appreciation for the present and a better understanding of the forces that are shaping our world.
A huge thank you to all of you for joining us on this journey through time. We hope you've enjoyed exploring these fascinating years with us and maybe even learned a thing or two along the way.
We certainly have. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those history books open.
Hey, just before you go, please like this podcast, rate it 5 stars if you can, and then also comment if you can, something nice or any advice you have. And share this with anyone you think might be interested in either history or heritage. And it's not just Irish focus, it's international focus as well. So, thank you.